Welcome to Still Kicking, the show that highlights senior centers around the state of Kentucky and investigates the lives and achievements of the seniors they serve. I'm your host, Jason Smallwood. We're here in Scott County, home of the Scott County Senior Citizen Center, deemed the #1 center in the state of Kentucky 2017. Come on inside for a personal tour and to meet our seniors. Welcome to Scott County Senior Citizen Center, deemed the #1 center by the state of Kentucky 2017. Upon entering our lobby, you will be greeted by our friendly staff who are always willing and ready to help. As we move through the lobby, you'll notice to the left the Wormhole Bookstore. The bookstore is utilized as a daily fundraiser with donated books that we resell to the community to help support the services that we provide. All 2,000 of our books are cataloged online for easy inventory searching. As we move on through the center, we'll come to our first multi-purpose room. This room is used for special presentations, classes, and exercise programs such as Tai Chi and stretch exercise. As we move on from our first multi-purpose room, we'll find a sunroom for services that may require more privacy, such as benefit sign-ups, health screens, blood pressure checks, as well as hearing evaluations. Across from the sunroom, we find our second multi-purpose room, or our large dining room. This room is used for larger presentations and educational programs. It also serves as our main dining room, where we serve meals to seniors who come in on our service days. In this room, we always have a crowd of individuals laughing and having a good time. We always have a community puzzle going on, music through our piano or keyboards, as well as bingo 3 times a week. There are a multitude of other services that goes on in this room, but those are just a few to mention. As we move on through our facility, we'll come across our exercise room, where we have multiple pieces of equipment that seniors can come and enjoy anytime our doors are open. Across the hall, you'll find our game room, where you'll often find seniors playing billiards, air hockey, darts, puzzles, and games. As we move out of the game room and on down the hall, you'll find another ongoing fundraiser. This room serves as our clothing store. We take donations of clothing, then resell them back into the community to assist in maintaining our services. In this room, you'll always find a bargain and often clothes still with the tags on. As we move out the clothing store and exit the building, we come across a large gazebo used for parties, band, cookouts, and other outdoor activities. The facility itself serves as an activity center for seniors to come together to engage in social activities, continuing education, recreation, and health promotion. The center also serves people within the community by offering home-delivered meals for seniors who may not be able to otherwise provide for themselves. We also provide transportation to doctor's appointments, pharmacies, grocery shopping to assist in bridging the transportation needs of our community. We provide home care services for seniors who may be challenged with maintaining the cleanliness of their home or their personal needs. These programs assist the seniors that we serve in maintaining independence, living longer, and staying healthy. There is no cost for membership to the Senior Center, and anybody 60 years of age or above is welcome to join at any time. Scott County Senior Citizen Center, the #1 center in the state of Kentucky. Come join us. Welcome back to Still Kicking. We're here with Rod Malinowski and Faye Slugans. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
All right.
Good. So you guys have been with us at the Senior Center for some time. We enjoy having you with us. You're always a great couple. And you guys are the resident couple of the Senior Center. You guys actually met here, right?
Right.
All right.
Well, But you're not from here originally, are you, Ron?
No, I'm from Chicago.
Okay, you're from Chicago, and what year was you born?
1941.
1941. And Faye, you're native to Kentucky. So long distance between you two, but you finally came together.
Came together, yeah.
So what year was you born in?
42.
42. So a little bit of difference there, but not much.
No.
About a year,
About a
give or
year
take.
and so many months.
Yeah. Good. So Ron Malinowski, that's kind of an unusual name for Kentucky. What do you know about your family history and like the origin of your name?
No, I know my dad's parents came from Poland, and back, I think, before 1900. And then they had the kids, and they had a farm in West Ellis, Wisconsin. And my mom's side, that they're, as far as I know, my grandpa on that side fought in the First World War, or one of them, and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure they all second generation or something Americans.
Yeah. So when you were a young girl, Faye, what did you want to be? What did you aspire to be?
I always wanted to be a telephone operator.
Okay, so what got you to want to be a telephone operator?
Well, when I was in school, the teacher took us a tour of a telephone office. And it just amazed me so much to see them sitting there pushing the wires, you know, to say a number please and all that kind of stuff. And I always wanted to be one.
Yeah.
After that.
And we have a picture of you when you was a young girl. About how old was you in this picture, would you say?
I would say I think I was about the 5th or 6th grade. I might have been 12 maybe, or 11, somewhere about there.
And we also have a picture of Ron when he was a young man. About how old was you back then?
I don't know, probably 7.
About 7?
7 or 8 maybe.
Yeah. So, thinking back throughout your life, Faye, what would you say is one of your happiest moments?
I would say my happiest time was when I married my husband.
Okay. And what year were you married in?
Now, I can't remember. It's been so many years.
But you were married for how many years?
47.
47 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just shy of the 50th.
Yeah, I almost made it, but not quite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, still a huge accomplishment to be married that long. And Ron, how long was you married to your wife?
54 years.
54 years.
Wow. That's when she died, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, definitely long-term relationships.
Yeah.
What would you say, Faye, what are you most proud of in your life?
I was proud of, and I still am proud of all my children, all 3 of them. They all growed up, accomplished a lot in life. They have children of their own and doing really well.
Are they still in Kentucky, or do they move around?
Well, I have one in West Virginia. The youngest girl is there. And they have their own business, and they're doing really well. And then I have a son in Fayette County that he's doing really well on the racehorse farm.
Good, good. And we have a few more pictures of you guys when you were young. This is a picture of Faye when you were about how old were you? You were in a swimming pool here.
I know, I was 16 at that time.
You're 16?
Yeah.
When you were growing up, Ron, who would you say is some of your heroes and role models?
I'd say my dad and my 2 brothers I had. And, other than that, probably some of them country cowboy and stuff like that.
Oh, like John Wayne and
Yeah, John Wayne. And when we were kids, we'd go to the movies every Saturday or something. On the way home, we'd play cowboys, or we'd be in a battle in some war or something, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And you come from a military family. Pretty much most of your siblings and
Yeah.
relatives were in the different wars and different services. You yourself were in the Navy, right?
right.
How long did you serve in the Navy?
4 years.
4 years. And we have a few pictures of Ron back then. The first one, you're posing on your ship. And the second one, this is the ship that you served on. And what was the name of it?
Well, I served on the one I was posing on.
Oh,
2.
oh, it was 2 different ships. Okay.
Well, I actually was on 2 cruisers and light cruisers and one converted PT boat that we used for retrieving experimental torpedoes in
Oh, okay.
Key West.
So how did you go about retrieving the experimental torpedoes?
It was great.
But how did you do it?
How did we do it?
Yeah.
Well, we'd go out every day and work with either a helicopter or a sub or a surface vessel that would deliver torpedoes. We were actually anti-sub warfare, so our torpedoes were going towards hitting a sub. And what they would do is if they hit the sub, they'd hear a thud, and they usually could tell us that it was a hit. And the noses were filled with like an oil or something, and a bright green dye. When they, on impact, they'd crush that, so they wouldn't really do much to the sub. And then they'd float up to the surface, and we'd look for this really bright green dye on the water, and we'd be cruising around looking for it. And that boat went about 42 miles an hour on the water, so it was kind of fun too.
Oh, yeah.
We'd get up on the hump in the front, and a couple of us, and they'd be cruising fast, and all the water would be coming up there. And when we were done, our blue jeans and all that were, you could stand them up. They're so full of salt, a lot of salt.
So how do you feel like your experience in the Navy molded you as a man growing up? You think that changed your view of the world and responsibilities and things like that?
Oh yes, it changed me probably an awful lot. You know, it certainly makes you know how to take care of yourself and fend for yourself. And if you live alone, you can wash your clothes, you can iron them, because you do it all in boot camp, and not so much after that. But
Yeah.
I think everybody should spend some time in the military and learn a little discipline and how to take orders, do what you got to do.
Yeah. What would be one of the most memorable experiences in your time in the Navy?
In my what?
What would be one of the most memorable times or
the
experiences
Navy?
in the Navy?
Well, I was over there in Cuba, off Cuba, in the Bay, Guantanamo Bay, and during the missile crisis over there. And that got a little exciting, because they tried to make a bunch of us sailors turn into Marines, because we had detachment of Marines on the ship. And this gunny sergeant, we went on the fantail, shooting, I believe it was like a 30 caliber machine gun, you know, that's on a tripod,
Mm-hmm.
and into the water, of course. And telling us, because Castro had said that if any ships that were in the bay, they were going to attack them. So we figured if they do anything, we were going to hit the beach and go raise some hell. You know, so
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
Yeah,
I
'cause
I
it's-
was actually married at that time and had a little girl, and I only had like 4 months to go or something like that, and I did not want to die.
Yeah. Well, it put you in a situation
Yeah.
where it was.
But we didn't have to do it, so
Yeah.
he backed down.
So Faye, you spent your life pretty much, or the majority of your time farming and on a farm, but you also worked for, is it 21 years with the school system? Which school system was you with?
I was in Woodford County at Simmons Elementary.
What do you think was some of your most memorable experiences with that, or what are you most proud of with that experience?
Well, I enjoyed the kids and the teachers, and I watched them grow from kindergarten through the 8th grade, and they all are married now and have kids of their own, but it's really funny. They still remember me. They see me out, and they always say hi, and they always remember me.
Yeah. We have a picture of you here in your farming days. You're stringing beans, right?
Right.
Was that one of your most favorite things to do?
Not really. It's just something that had to be done.
I remember growing up, we had to do that, and it was, as a kid, it was pretty well torture to
Yeah.
have to do that.
Yeah, it was.
And they would like to start about 7 in the morning to get it done and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
But, you know, we never complained when we had food on the table.
No, they taste awful good in the wintertime when you open up a jar of them and cook them, and they were very good.
Yeah. And speaking of green beans, you're vegetarian.
Right.
So how long have you been a vegetarian?
I would say probably about 10 years.
About 10 years? So what happened or what made you want to choose that lifestyle? Because it's very difficult. You know, when you go out into the community, it's hard to find a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, what started all, I was watching a program on TV one day, and it was showing how they slaughtered all those animals, and what they did to the chickens, and it made me really sick. And I said, I can't eat any more meat after that.
So just that one experience kind of just,
Kind of ruined it, yeah.
yeah. I've seen some of those. There's some pretty wild things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Ron, you've, after the military or after the Navy, you went to work for Sears, and you worked for Sears for how many years?
38 years.
38 years.
Yep,
That's a long, long time.
pretty long.
So what was your primary responsibilities with Sears?
Well, mostly I was in the beginning, I was a furniture repair and touch-up. Used to go to houses all day long, and because delivery people always damaged furniture. And if it was just a little damage, we could take care of it. And big damage, sometimes we took care of too. And then after that, I became a washer, dryer, and dishwasher repairman, going to the houses all day. It's one of the great jobs. Sears was always great. Never got laid off in 38 years. Good place.
So when you retired, what did you plan to do? Just rest, or that's a long time. I would probably take a long time off and just rest.
Well, take it easy, you know. It's nice not having, especially in the winter in Chicago area, when you got up at 6:30 and then 7 o'clock leaving your house to go to work, and then to go driving all day, and you had a foot of snow out there, you had to do it.
Yeah.
It was no fun. Now, when you're retired, you can get that cup of coffee and look out the window and just, snow is pretty.
It becomes pretty when you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, sure does.
And we have a picture of you. This was actually a Sears magazine that they put out, and they brought all of you guys in, all the repairmen, and did this picture. So tell me about that day when you got that picture taken.
Well, they just got everybody together, and they called it the Sears Air Corps, because it was basically sponsoring air conditioning and that, So, we all got together, and we weren't all Air Corps men, we were all kinds of technicians, and there were bosses in there and everything, but they wanted to take that, and then it was featured in a lot of magazines, and that's the part of a magazine or the display and that they gave us.
Okay, good. I'd like to start off talking to you with. You guys have been a couple here, and you've been dating for about a year now. Is that right? So what Faye attracted you to Ron? Was he just the only guy?
Well-
Just about. Not too many guys around here.
No, I liked him from the first day I saw him. I really did. I thought he was very good looking. He was very well mannered. And I just really liked him, but he didn't know it.
Yeah.
I
So-
didn't.
No, he didn't know it for a long time.
So who initiated the first date?
It was mutual. I'm the one that started letting her know that I wanted to take her shopping and go to lunch or something other than here.
Mm-hmm.
And she just, tell him what you did to me.
I said, I don't know where I live.
She don't know where she lives. She don't know her
I
phone
didn't know
number.
my phone
Didn't know nothing. Then she broke down, though. Didn't you?
I did. And I'm so happy.
And what did you do?
I met you at Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, she bent over and I said, "You gonna go somewhere with me?" And she said,
What
"Meet
the-
me at Cracker Barrel
Oh,
at
yeah.
5
Yeah.
p.m.
I did.
Friday." And she winked her eye, and I thought, She was there, and we got together, and that was the start of,
That was the start.
that was our future coming on.
So after she winked at you, was you floating on clouds for a little bit?
Well, it felt pretty good, because finally she said something positive.
Yeah.
I was going to ask Dave, and, where does she live? And, but then we did go, her son-in-law, son-in-law, drove her over to Cracker Barrel, and they were both standing there when I got there, and I thought, oh, what is this, But he just said hi and met me, and he left, and we had dinner and sat on the porch over there at the Cracker Barrel. But then she really didn't know.
I did.
I didn't
I
know
got
how to get
lost.
it. We were driving and driving. I said, sure where we're going? She said, no, I don't. But we made it. Now I know it till I could
Drive it with his eyes closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
go in there all the time.
So what's next for you guys?
Well, I think we're just going to keep doing what we're doing for a while.
We talk about things.
We talk about everything, and I really want to get to know Ron really well, if you know what I mean. I think he really wants to be really well.
Yeah. If you're going to invest in each other for the rest of your lives, you want to make sure you make a good choice, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Well, you guys definitely seem like a good match and a good fit. Everybody I've talked to thinks the same thing. You guys have always been an inspiration to the others, always take lead and help others. So we definitely appreciate that out here. It's always good to have strong leaders at the Senior Center, and you guys are always willing to step up, and we really appreciate that. We'll be right back with Jenny Salto, world traveler and registered nurse. Welcome back to Still Kicking. We're with Jenny Salto, world traveler and registered nurse. So Jenny, good to have you here with us today.
Glad to be here.
So where are you from originally?
I'm from Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago, Illinois. So how long have you been in Kentucky?
In Kentucky, a year and a half.
A year and a half, so you're new.
That's right.
Have you figured out your way around and what you need to do?
No, I haven't learned my. I don't even try these roads of yours.
Yeah. Well, it seems like our roads should be easier than Chicago.
Well, they're bigger. I stay off the highways.
Ah, gotcha. So what year was you born in?
1927.
1927, so just missed the roaring 20s a little bit as far as being old enough to...
Yeah, I was kind of square. I wasn't into that stuff.
Yeah. So you were born in the 20s. However, you're still very active.
Yeah, for a 91-year-old, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, you are doing much better than a lot of people in their 60s or 70s, really. So what would you say is some key things that you've done in your life to allow you to age successfully, and what would you tell other people they should be doing?
Stay busy, stay involved. Don't just sit back and wait for it to happen. You got to make it happen in order for it to work.
It's good. So you've led a very active lifestyle.
Very.
Do you do anything to keep yourself mentally sharp?
Well, when my last child went to kindergarten, I went to college.
Okay.
That was my first experience with college.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had some older sons who could help me study. I had forgotten how. But I was kind of into it. And I found that there was a 2-year program for nursing, which I enrolled in. It took me 3 years to do 2. But it got me my nursing license so I could practice. And from there, I went on to get a master's degree in nursing and become a supervisor or, something a little more.
So how old was you when you started nursing?
About 38 years old.
About 38?
I got my degree about 42 for 2 years.
Yeah.
But then they decided I was the older nurse, so I was more intelligent. So they started making me take the charge position. And I didn't feel prepared for that. So I told them I needed to go back to school, which I did do, and then went on to get the master's.
So why did you choose nursing?
It's something that I always wanted to do. It's a kind of a job that you're doing for others, and it makes you feel good. So that's kind of why I did it.
Okay. And we have a few pictures of you in your nursing years. So I believe in this first one you're doing some charting with the...
Yeah, I'm a supervisor of a unit. This young man is one of the nurses I had, and we're charting at the end of the day, which is required, of course. Mm-hmm. But then I went on to bigger and better units, but we were more involved in spinal cord injury, a lot of quadriplegics, a lot of paraplegics, brain damage, head injuries. So that became a specialized kind of way to take care of patients. It's interesting because we had one young man, he reverted, he was like 27 years old, but reverted back after the brain damage to a 6-year-old. So he fought the nurses every day. He didn't want to go to school. School to him was physical therapy, but he didn't want to do that, but we convinced him he could. Then he also had a wife and a home, which he didn't remember. So we had to reintroduce him to his wife, who he would be willingly go home with after a home visit. So it was interesting to watch the process.
Yeah. So was he probably your most rewarding?
Well, the most rewarding one would be a quadriplegic patient that got angry with a nurse, and he was very depressed as well as angry. So he had kind of given up and didn't want to bother with anything. So one day he said to my nurse he was going to kill himself. But we kind of jostled him out of the mood. And over time, we were able to rehabilitate him. And he did move into wheelchair sports, played basketball. We played basketball too. The nurses would get out on the gym floor in a wheelchair, but the players would cheat. They'd come roaring up next to you and pull your brake on. But those were the things we would do.
Yeah, so definitely sounds like a challenging but
Fun
job, definitely rewarding, getting to see people really at one of the lowest points in their life.
Right.
Then helping to elevate that and give them new purpose, just like the young man that was suicidal.
Right.
You guys allowed him to find purpose and to be there to comfort him and let him know he wasn't alone. So that's very
Support him. Whatever he wanted to do, we'd help him with it.
good. Yeah. So what would you say is one of the most rewarding experiences in your life?
Well, that's kind of, I think one of the rewarding experiences I had was 6 weeks in Europe all by myself with my tent.
Yeah, and we have a picture of you with your bicycle and tent.
Yeah, to biking, we did a lot of biking. But the rewarding was to be able to do 6 weeks without being afraid, with being able to follow through. I rented a car and just kind of bummed around.
Yeah.
That was a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. definitely scary. Was that in the 80s or 70s?
That was it was early 80s,
Early 80s?
right? And I know being in Milan, Italy, there was a group of young Mormon inductees. They were there doing a part of their required subjects. But I was going to a concert, an outdoor concert, by way of train by myself. And these young people saw that I was alone. So they kind of gathered around, said, if you need anything, here's a phone number, you call us. They walked me home after the program, which was by train quite a ways. But that was rewarding. Another group of young ones that were singing in one of the chapels there in Milan, or in Salzburg. I met them on the street, and they invited me to come listen to their concert. So it was things like that that I found rewarding.
Yeah, just kind of being out there and being available. And
Right. Of course,
taking
when I pulled into campgrounds, the campground owner asked if, Nick Angst, aren't you afraid? And I says, no, I wasn't. But it was, that was on the Danube River. I was camping there. And there were a bunch of young kids. They had fires, family fires at night. And I lit me a little fire. And the kids didn't like that kind of fire. So they went and got me all kinds of wood to build my fire bigger. So I did do that. But all in all, it was a very enlightening, very period of my life. Although one time on the Aegean Sea, it's the only time I was frightened. It was a swarthy father-son ownership. It was kind of off in the woods, and I was a woman alone, and they knew where I was because I had to sign in. And I was kind of frightened there, but that was the only time.
Excellent. So you definitely have been around quite a bit.
I've been around.
And we have a few pictures of your travels. So the first one is, where's this at?
The first one was Delphi, Greece,
Okay.
where the oracle's little home was, and you found out that they drugged those people actually to perform their job as an oracle or foretelling the future or what was going to happen.
Oh, wow.
But that was Greece, beautiful three-pronged deal. First part would be Cosmopolitan, which was Athens. And then there was the islands, which were absolutely beautiful. And then the classical Greece.
Yeah.
So that was a very nice experience.
Okay. And our-
The other one was local bike riding, a 100-mile bike trip overnight, so we slept out. And that was here in Indiana. Howe Military Academy is there, and that's where we camped. But there was that. And of course, carrying a Amish pie on a bicycle is kind of tricky, but it worked.
I can imagine. So we have a picture. What's this picture of?
The last one, that one is the Virgin Islands. We camped on we were an elder hostel, not an elder hostel group, but a young people's group. And I was kind of overseeing that. But we didn't use tents, we used three-sided houses or patio effects with a roof on them. But the exciting part of that trip were the wild boars running around the island. You heard them, you didn't see them very much, but you sure heard them. But all in all, it was kind of fun. I was very reluctant to come home. But I was told when I went to change my ticket that if I had a ticket to leave, that I had better go because there was going to be an airstrike and I wouldn't be able to go
Oh, yeah.
if I waited too long.
Yeah.
So, but all in all, it was very exciting.
Yeah. So you've definitely had a very active life.
Very. 5 kids, and our vacations always were camping trips.
Yeah. You have to, it would be too expensive to take 5 kids around and show a lot of luxury and
That's
things
right.
like that. So
No, it wasn't a hardship. We always made it. The biggest question would be, when are we going to eat, Mom?
Yeah.
And of course, my response would be, whenever you cook it. So that worked.
when they catch it and cook it. What would you say is some of the most challenging things about growing older?
Staying psychologically fit, because the tendency is to become depressed. And I feel it happening. I wish I could do what I used to do, or I get an itch that I want to travel and find out I can't. That is, to me, you have to work at staying up. And then the other side of that is to work at staying healthy so you can go. But that to me continues to be the hardest part of growing old.
So there's always a flip side to things. So what's the rewards of growing up, besides the senior discount? What would you say is some rewards that you found that may be surprising?
People treat me differently. They, yes ma'am, or they're very respectful, very courteous, and it always surprises me because by nature, people in Chicago aren't that friendly. I find being here in Kentucky that people are very kind, very friendly, and I'm always surprised when that happens. I don't expect it.
So how would you like people to remember you?
As somebody that got up and did.
Yeah. So somebody that was always on the move and always challenging.
Of course, I remember a seminar in school one time. What would worry you the most, or what is the worst thing that could happen to you? And my response at that time was have a funeral and nobody came.
Yeah.
That was the way I felt. Now it doesn't matter. I don't care if anybody comes.
Yeah. It's funny how perspectives change over
They do,
time.
over time.
And with experience, those kinds of things. Well, Jenny, thank you for coming and talking to us. It's been a very rewarding talking to you for me, and it's been a pleasure. Again, you are one of the most active, and you're one of the seniors of the seniors. And you outperform many of the younger folks, which is always impressive. So it's very good to have you here, and we're glad that you continue to come to the Senior Center.
It's been a lifesaver for me. Coming from Michigan, where I relocated from, I kind of left everything behind, including belongings, furniture, everything, and came to my daughter's house where there's nothing for me. And it's taking a bit of work to settle in and be.
Yeah. Well, it looks like you're doing a good job of it.
Yeah.
And you definitely have a home here with us, and
Yes.
you definitely belong, and are one of the leaders of the group.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with Mary Hawkins, former owner of Georgetown Flowers and successful business lady. Mary lost her vision years ago, but has special rare technology implanted in her eye that allows some vision. Stay tuned to hear what Mary has to say. Welcome back to Still Kicking. We're here with Mary Hawkins, former owner of Georgetown Flowers, a successful business lady, and also lost her sight several years ago, however, has overcome many challenges through special technology that she has in her eye. Hello, Mary.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you, Mary. So, are you a native of Kentucky, or did you move in from somewhere?
No, I'm a native Kentucky. I was born in Letcher County, Kentucky, which is in eastern Kentucky.
And you've been in Georgetown for how many years?
61 years, since
Yeah.
I was 8 years old.
Yeah, so you've been around for everything, and you're able to experience the change with Toyota coming in. And
Oh, yes.
going from a farm community to kind of more of a metropolis kind of place.
Right.
So you, what year was you born in?
1949.
1949. And we have a picture of when you were a baby, and that's your parents are holding you there. Was you probably about close to a year old maybe in that picture?
Just a little under a year.
Just a little under a year.
Yes.
So growing up in Kentucky, did you have any local heroes or world heroes that you really looked up to growing up?
I just had a TV hero,
Okay.
which was Superman.
Superman.
Because he always was doing good, and he always came to the rescue of anybody in trouble. I loved Superman.
Yeah. So you like the the 40s and 50s Superman. Do you like the newer Superman?
No,
Not so much.
I like the old Superman.
Like the classic Superman.
Yes, yes.
So every young person tends to get in trouble at times. So share with us a time when you got in trouble.
Well, I actually have 2 times I got in big trouble. I was a pretty good child. My mom, she was very strict, so I knew what I could get away with and what I couldn't. But probably as a 16-year-old teenager, I had a girlfriend spending the night with me, and my bedroom was on one side of the house, and my mom and dad's was on the other side of the house. So we decided we were going to sneak out and just walk around, and there was a couple of guys that said they might be walking around at that same time we were. So we climbed out my bedroom window, we left the TV on, and back then TV didn't stay on all night long. Like 1 o'clock it starts fuzzing and buzzing and making all kinds of weird sounds. So we stayed out an hour or two, and we came back, and we was going to climb back in the window. But as we were going to do that, we saw my friend's father's car in our driveway. So we also looked in the window, and the TV was still like buzzing and fuzzing and everything. So we knew we had it. So at those days, you didn't even have to lock your car at night. So we jumped in my dad's car, and we saw a light come on, the outside light. And so we like raised up like we'd been asleep, and we were like yawning and stretching and everything. And so my dad comes up to the car window, knocks on the window, and he says, I said, "Oh, Daddy, we came out here in the car to listen to the radio, and we fell asleep, and we just now woke up. We didn't realize how late it was." He said, "Well, that's funny, Mary Lois." He said, "Because 10 minutes ago, I was driving this car around in the neighborhood trying to find you and Kathy." So I was a dead duck. And then one time I skipped school, and somebody saw me and my girlfriend get in the car with 2 guys that morning. I didn't even skip the whole day. I went to school at 12 o'clock. Well, somebody ratted on me. They went to the high school and said, Mary and Linda, they got in the car with a couple of guys walking to school. And so I go on to school at lunchtime, just act bebop and act like nothing's wrong. Well, the loudspeaker came on and says, "Mary Lois Shepherd, please come to the office." Well, I knew I'd had it. So I walk in, principal says, "Your mother knows, your dad knows, everybody knows that you got in the car with 2 guys, you and Linda got in the car with 2 guys this morning. So what do you have to say for yourself?" Well, I didn't have anything to say. I got caught. And my French teacher, which I adored, my French teacher, she came in, and she was the head of National Honor Society, and I had been inducted into the National Honor Society, and she came in and told me how disappointed she was in me, and told me that I probably would be put on probation for the National Honor Society, and that if I didn't get in any more trouble, I would be okay. And I didn't, so I didn't try sneaking out or skipping school anymore.
So it's good you didn't choose to be a criminal, because you probably wouldn't have been successful.
I wouldn't have been good at that at all.
So as you got older, you decided to open a flower shop.
Yes.
So you were the former owner of Georgetown Flowers. So how did that come about, and how did you get into running a flower shop?
Well, I'd worked in a florist when I started when I was 16, like working after school. It was downtown Georgetown, and working in the summers. And even when I went to college a couple of years, like I worked there, after I got out of school and in the summers. And the lady there, she had been a florist for years, and she taught me how to design flowers. And it just really took off. I loved it. Before, when I first went, I was just sweeping floors and, and emptying water buckets and things like that. But I just really had a passion for it. and she taught me everything that I know. So I was working at a shop in Lexington, and there was a lady there that I didn't know from Adam. She and I started talking, and I was saying that I thought Georgetown was wide open for another flower shop for the size of the town and the county and everything. So we brainstormed one whole summer, about could we do this, could we make it, could we make it successful, what's the pros, what's the cons, and we just came up, we can do this. And I was 28, and she was about 5 years older than me, and we just really did a lot of research and just put our heads together, and we, on Labor Day of 1978, as partners in the business, we opened up Georgetown Flowers, and it's still in existence today. Although, she's out of it and I'm out of it, there's a new owner, but it's still thriving.
Yeah. So business is going well and booming for you. Then you get news that your site is going.
Yes.
So how did you deal with that or adapt to that?
Well, the first step I took was I went to the Kentucky Office for the Blind to find out what kind of services and things they had, because I was considering getting out of the flower shop because it was just really getting difficult for me to carry my weight, and so they were telling me, you really ought to try this program that we have. It's called Kentucky Business Enterprises, and it enables a person who is legally blind or blind to run their own business. And it's vending machines in either federal, state, or local government businesses. We had priority in all those facilities. So I was really reluctant at first because it just seems so against the grain, to be a florist, then become, a vending machine owner, to do that. And so she finally talked me into it. I went to Louisville one whole summer for 6 weeks to be trained on the machines, how to fix the machines, the product, all of that, all the ins and outs of the business. So I had to wait about a year to get a facility, but it did come along, and I was appointed the manager of the Bluegrass Community and Technical College campus. And that's where it all began, and just really loved it, and it was very lucrative, financially, and it's a very good program. I recommend it to anybody who is interested in being self-employed as a blind person.
Yeah. So that gave you the kind of the support and the motivation and the purpose in life to adapt and kind of move past having challenges.
Yes. Yes.
So several years ago, you were presented with the opportunity to be part of a study, right, for experimental technology.
Yes.
For a site. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's called Argus 2, and it was manufactured by a company in Los Angeles, California called Second Sight, and it wasn't anything like my normal vision, that I did have for a lot of years, but it was the only treatment there was at the time for the eye disease that I have, which is a continual, deterioration of your vision until some people do end up totally blind, some people don't. But I just thought, okay, this is, something that I can be a part of. It's, it's just on the ground floor, and it's gonna, it'll probably take off one of these days, and it'll just keep getting better. And this eye disease is hereditary, and there's many people in our family that have it. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like it would be a step forward, not only for myself, but for my family and all the people, that live, they're living with this eye disease. It's special glasses that uses, first of all, I had to have a implant of a microchip in my right eye. Mm-hmm. It has 60 electrodes in it. And so it's all computerized. It has a VPU, a video processor video, and the glasses have a little camera like in the center here. And so I put the glasses on, and then there's a wire that comes through the VPU and goes, into the retina, you know, like it kind of bypasses the retina, but not really. But it's just a different kind of vision to identify people, places, and things. When I turn it on, there's like all these lights flashing. And I had to go many times to Ann Arbor, Michigan, where I had the implant put in at the University of Michigan. In 2015, I think we made 11 trips up there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I had to go through occupational therapy and everything to learn how to interpret what these lights meant. So when the camera would take an image and send it through the VPU on the side of the glasses, it would, they told me, you know, if the lights were flashing if they were real big, that meant something was closer to me. If they were small, something was farther away. If it was more bright and white, that it was pretty much, you know, not a lot of color. If it was colorful, it would be darker, you know, a darker color. And so even though it's not a way of seeing like I used to see, it has helped me mobility-wise, not walking into things. It has helped me just being able to identify even a glass, you know, not knocking over a glass when I sit down to eat my dinner. Just brightness and being able to distinguish. One thing they had me do is separate white and black socks, and I would just sit there and separate these black and white socks.
Oh,
well,
wow.
that was a big deal to me,
Yeah.
you know, to be able to do that. So they're still working on it. They're still refining it and upgrading it, and hopefully by the end of this year they're going to have a new pair of glasses. I'll still have the same thing, implant in my eye with the 60 electrodes, but they're going to fix it where the battery won't run down after 3 hours, and just making it a lot better. And I just got involved and really have never regretted it. I really, you know, appreciate the fact that they took me. And I think there's about 250 people in the whole United States that's had it done. But as far as I know, I'm only a person in Kentucky who has had it done.
Yeah.
But there's people from other states and all.
So they kind of, through this technology, it took you really out of the dark and allowed some light to come in.
Yes,
So that's
yes, exactly.
which is a major thing when, you know, when there is nothing.
Right, exactly. When it's just a gray mass.
Yeah, yeah. So you're one of the most positive, helpful, and active people really with the center. But I would say that you have one of the biggest challenges. There's a lot of people with mobility challenges and things like that. But when you take one of the senses away, that's a huge challenge. So what is it about you that allows you to be so positive and motivate others and so helpful?
Well, I feel like I have a responsibility as a blind person to be positive and show other people who are dealing with the same challenge that, you know, there are ways, you know, that your life cannot be totally changed. Yes, it is changed, but you just have to learn how to do things in a different way.
Thank you for coming in. You definitely are a light to other people, a positive influence on people, and a great inspiration for people that's having any kind of challenge. We'll be right back with Christine Lahm, runner-up for Miss New York in 1962, former model, and world traveler. Welcome back to Still Kicking. We're here with Christine Lahm, world traveler and former model. Welcome, Christine. It's good to have you today.
Thank you very much, Jason. It's good to be here.
So, are you originally from Kentucky, or where are you originally from?
I was born in New York State, about 20 miles north of New York City, in a town called Eastchester.
Okay. And when was you born? What year?
1942.
1942.
Yes, a long time
And
ago.
How long was you in New York?
I was in New York until I turned 20, and then I moved to California. My family moved out there. And it was 62, and everybody was making the migration to West Coast. And my brother was in school there, in college, and it was just my mother, my sister, and myself. And I convinced my mother that we should make a move. And she said, okay. So we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good deal. So growing up, you probably experienced a lot of things. Might have made a few mistakes along the road. If you can go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice that may alter things or change how something worked out, what do you think that would be?
I think as a young mother of 3 little boys, I would have been more lenient about their messing up the house. I was too busy keeping my house clean and tidy and not letting them be little boys and keep their stuff out and their clothes on the floor and mud in the kitchen, things like that were important to little boys because that's what they do. So I wouldn't be so rigid. I'd be more lenient with them growing up.
Okay. In your lifetime, who would you say is, you've done a lot of things in your lifetime, who would be someone that has been a huge influence to you, maybe molded the way you went about things or shaped your life?
Definitely my mother. She
Okay.
she was just an amazing woman. She was not only beautiful, but she was very smart. And when she was pregnant with my sister, my father died. So I was 8 years old, my brother was 10, and all of a sudden at 39, she was a widow. So she had to go out and get a job, and it wasn't a scary time for us because she was so calm about everything that we never worried where the next meal would come from. We always had plenty. Nothing ever changed really that way. But it was hard for her. She called my Nana, who lived in Queens, New York, and she said, you have to come up and take care of the kids for me while I go to work. So that kind of made an upheaval in our household, although I love my Nana. She was from Norway, and she had a funny accent, and there were some words that she couldn't pronounce, and being, a typical snotty little girl, and my brother and I would make fun of her, which was not very nice. We didn't do it to her face, but, a lot of our generation had their grandparents just off the boat.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of friends who were Italian, and they had the old Italian mamas, and they didn't speak any English at all, so it wasn't just my Nana that we laughed at. We laughed at everybody's grandmothers. But I enjoyed having her live with us. She wasn't with us too long. She passed away, I think maybe after she'd only been with us 5 years. My
Yeah.
sister was about 5 years old. So,
Okay.
yeah, my mother was definitely the big influence in my life.
Okay. And when you were younger, you were a model, and you were even selected and asked to be in the Miss USA pageant, and you competed in the Miss New York pageant. Tell us
Yes.
a little bit about.
When I graduated from high school, I didn't go to college, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. My mother thought being a secretary was just too boring, and she suggested that I try modeling. So I had to go to New York City, had to take the train every day to New York City, and that was exciting in itself. And I enrolled in the Barbizon School of Modeling, where they taught you how to walk and talk and do makeup and hair, and then they found jobs for us. So I did that. The first job was as a bathing suit model, and that was okay. I was just learning how to do things, and I didn't like the bosses very well who I worked for, so I wasn't there just a few months. And then I got the job with a dress house called Jonathan Logan, and it was my boss. I worked there for 2 years, and my boss was the one who suggested that I enter the Miss America contest and represent Miss New York City. And we had a Miss New York State already. Each state has to have a representative. So I would represent the city part of New York. And I looked at him, I said, "Are you kidding me? I don't have any talent. I can't dance, I can't sing, I can't do anything." He goes, "Oh, we just take a dance lesson, you'll be fine." So I let him talk me into that. And I had about 4 weeks to get ready, which wasn't a lot of time. But I went out, and my mother bought me an evening gown, a beautiful evening gown, and we met all the other contestants before we had to go on stage that night. And I never really looked out into the audience at all. I knew there were a lot of people there because it was at the New Yorker Hotel. And I don't remember in which order we went on stage, but I remember a woman who played the piano beautifully, and another woman sang an aria. She had a gorgeous operatic voice. And then I got up and did my stupid little dance that I practiced with this dance teacher for a few weeks. And I got almost to the end without making any mistakes. And I looked out over the audience, unfortunately, and I saw hundreds and hundreds of people there. And I froze and forgot the rest of my little routine. And I just stopped and walked off stage. So I didn't win Miss New York City, but I came in second. So that was fun. That was a good adventure, a nice adventure. Yeah.
Yeah. So you had 4 weeks to talked a little bit about how you prepared as far as the dance lessons
Yeah.
and things. How did you prepare mentally? I mean, because that's kind of
It
it's a huge leap.
It was a huge leap. I was kind of flighty. I wasn't worried about it at all, really. I figured, well, how bad can it be? You know, other people are going to be there too, and you're not going to be on the stage by yourself, which is true. Everybody got up to do their talent with other people watching. And when I came home from work at night in the city, I would go to the dance teacher who's just in the next town over, and I'd spend a couple hours with her. And I felt good about my routine. It was a little jazz dance by Dave Brubeck. And I felt okay about it, you know, and getting ready, and I love shopping for evening gowns. I had to buy an evening gown with the long white gloves coming up to the shoulders, and that was a lot of fun. And that's really the only prep work that I had to do.
Yeah.
So mentally, I was still busy working at work and, you know, helping my mom out. So all of a sudden the day was there, and a boyfriend I was dating drove me in, and it was fun. It was over very fast.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole night, you know, the build-up took about 4 weeks, but then it was all over, and then that was it.
Yeah.
So it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Modeling itself was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have a picture of all the contestants from the Miss New York pageant. And so you were already modeling a little bit, and then did some modeling afterwards, I guess, with
Right.
After the pageant. What all kind of modeling did you do? Where did you model?
There are 3 types. There's photography modeling, showroom modeling, and runway modeling. And I did a little bit of photography. The photographer from Playboy happened to be having lunch in a restaurant where a model friend and I were having lunch, and he came over to our table. We were drinking martinis. And he came over to our table and asked us if we wanted to have some pictures taken for Playboy. So we said sure. So we went over to his studio, and we took the pictures, but then he asked us how old we were, and we said 18, and he said, oh, well, you have to get your parents' permission before I, you know, put these out, publish them. So, of course, our parents said no. My mother said no way, and her parents said absolutely not. So we didn't get our pictures published, but that was fun. And I have a picture of taken for the cover of 17 magazine.
Yeah.
With a little pink dress on. That was a fun thing to do. Photography modeling is very different. I really like the showroom modeling better, because you get to, the designer who designs all the clothes has to fit them on the model who's going to show them to the buyers who come into the showroom. So all the clothes, hundreds and hundreds of outfits that were fitted on me just to fit me, I got to take home when the season was over.
Yeah.
So my closet was not big enough for all these clothes, so I didn't take everything. I just took a few things that I really loved. But you got to wear very pretty clothes all day long. I mean, that's all we did. We just kept changing outfits for, you know, as the buyers came in from the different stores. And I loved my boss. He was wonderful. And we had a huge office. We had a secretary. We had all the salesmen, not just the salesmen who worked there every day like we did. There were 4 of them, and there were 3 models. But the salesmen who were out on the road, were taking their trunks of clothing on the road, they would come in after they'd been on the road, and they'd hang around. And so we had a lot of people in the office. It was just a busy, busy place, and it was a fun place to work. Yeah, so that was, I did a little runway modeling. It's not really called runway modeling, but on Saturdays, sometimes I'd have to go into Saks Fifth Avenue, I Magnin, and do a floor show, which is just basically putting on a pretty outfit that they chose, and just walking around or standing there for a while and doing that I used to get $100 for doing that for the day. So that was a lot of money back then.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that. So yeah, that was the extent of my modeling. I only did it for 2.5 years before I moved to California. But it was a busy, fun time.
Yeah, definitely. So speaking of moving, you travel a lot.
Yes, I
So
do travel a lot.
Tell us a little bit about different places you've been.
Okay. Well, my grandmother was Norwegian, so the first trip I ever took to Norway, to Europe, was to Norway with my mother and my sister. And after we spent some time there with relatives, we went to Germany, and then Italy, Austria, Switzerland, Denmark, a little bit of Sweden. We didn't see too much of Sweden, but we did sort of that whole area that's all in a cluster. We were gone 2 months. It was a nice trip.
Oh, yeah.
And then that was when I was 18, and I really didn't go anywhere. We went to Hawaii a lot. Living in California, you go to Mexico and Hawaii. Those are kind of the destinations. So I'd been to Hawaii a few times, and I'd taken a few cruises. But then we went around to South America too, and went to Cartagena, Colombia, and Venezuela. So we didn't see the countries, we just saw the ports of the big cities. And then my sister and I took our mom on a trip through the Panama Canal. That was fun. And then on my own, or with a friend, I went to Egypt, went to Greece, went to Antarctica. Of all the places in the world, most people don't go there, but it was fascinating and it was fabulous. And there's no shopping and there's no restaurants, there's no nothing there. You know, it's just really
ice.
cold, just ice, very cold. But we got off the ship. I think there's 7 countries that own parts of the continent, and they are responsible for taking care of it. So the part that we have our explorers on is called McMurdo Station. So starting at the very tip of the continent and being on the ship for 5 weeks, come all the way down to the bottom of it where McMurdo Station is, we got off and mingled with our explorers, and they study the atmosphere, they study the earth, they study all kinds of things. And a lot of them stay there over the winter.
Yeah.
Most people don't, because it's really way too cold. Even in summer, it was 25 below zero.
Oh.
That's their summer. So yeah, we had to wear a lot of clothes. And it was just a fascinating trip. And then from there, I went to New Zealand and Australia, which are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful countries. And for beauty, well, they're all beautiful. Norway is beautiful. Greece was spectacularly beautiful. Antarctica isn't really beautiful. The atmosphere is sort of, because it's so cold, it's kind of a greenish gray all the time. It's never really sunny, and it doesn't rain, and it doesn't snow, but the wind blows constantly, and it blows these tiny little particles into your skin. They call them diamond dust, and they hurt.
Oh, yeah.
So if you go out with just your face bare, you're going to be bombarded with these things flying through the air. But Norway's beautiful, Greece is beautiful, Egypt was very interesting, New Zealand is beautiful. So those are my favorites. I've been to other places too, but those are my favorites. Yeah.
So now you're going out on a new adventure.
Yes.
You're starting your own business.
Yes, I am.
For your love of dogs.
I love dogs.
So tell us about your new business and what you're going to be doing.
Well, when I had my dog passed away a few months ago, but when I had my dog and I wanted to travel, I had the hardest time finding somebody to stay at my house overnight for like 10 days or 2 weeks. There's lots of dog sitters who, you know, they're around during the day, but I could never find anybody who would stay overnight. So I decided, since my dog has passed away, that I would do this. Other people are doing it too. Now that I don't need them, they're out there. So it's called Chrissy's Dog Sitting, and I go to the house where the dog lives, and I stay there for however long the people want to be away on vacation. And that way the dog doesn't have to go to a kennel, because I don't think all dogs like kennels. And they stay in the safety and the familiarity of their own home. So that's my business. I have 1 booking already.
Good.
I just started it, so I hope it takes off.
Yeah,
It's gonna
hopefully
be
it
fun.
will be very successful.
Yeah.
With people and their dogs, they take care of them as well as their children.
Yes.
So I would
Well,
imagine
people
you'll be
treat their
very-
dogs like their children.
Yes. So you'll
I do.
you'll probably be very busy.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
Well, thank you for coming in and talking to us today. It's
Thank you.
always a pleasure.
Thank you.
We enjoy having you involved with the senior and all the senior center and all the work that you do for the senior center. We hope you continue to work with us and continue to inspire people and continue to be active and creative.
Thank you so much.
And the best of luck with your new business.
Thank you. Put the good word out.
Yes.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, we'll be right back after this message. Well, that wraps up our show for Scott County. We hope you've had a good time, learned a few things, and had a few laughs along the way. Join us next time as we venture into Jessamine County, where we'll investigate their senior center and meet their seniors. Until then, I'm Jason Smallwood, and this has been Still Kicking.